Hi guys, welcome to a new video. In this video, we're making this really easy shift dress with a black placket in the middle, bell sleeves, and it has a belt at the back. This is really simple. If this is something you'd like to learn, please keep watching. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified whenever I make a new post. Thank you, and let's get into it. For this style, I used about 3 yards of fabric. For the pattern fabric, and I still had some remaining. For the black crepe, I also had about 1 yard. I used it for the belt, the tip of the sleeve, and the center, and it was also still remaining. For this style, I actually want to draft on your fabric. The reason why I'm using a pattern paper is because I felt like my chalk wasn't showing properly on the fabric and it was shifting. So I decided to just use a pattern and place on my fabric and cut. Now, to fold your fabric, to know what to fold out, you need your hip measurement divided by 4, then add 5 inches. The starting of this paper is my shoulder line, and I'm going to be marking my shoulder measurement divided by 2. I'll mark a point there. I'll also go ahead to mark the wideness of my neck. That's my neck width, which is 3.5 inches. On my shoulder point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, which is going to be my shoulder slope. From the 1 inch, I'll get a ruler and connect it to the 3.5 that I marked earlier. That's connected to your neck width. The next thing to do is to come down with your armhole length, which is your bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. I'm going to really line across, which is going to be my chest line. Whatever you have on your shoulder measurement, you're going to take the exact same thing on your chest line, and then you're going to connect to meet the shoulder slope. This will give you your armhole line. On my neck width, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, which is going to serve as the neck depth for the back. I'm also going to come down by 3 inches, which is going to serve as the neck depth for the front. On the armhole line, I'm going to get the midpoint, and then I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch. On the chest line, I'm going to take my bust measurement divided by 4, and then I'm going to be adding 1 extra inch for ease and another one for stitching allowance. Now I'll go ahead to connect the 3 points together to get my armhole curve. The next thing to do is to get my shoulder to waistline, which is 16.5 inches. I'm also going to take from my shoulder to the hip line, which is 26 inches, and the bottom part will serve as the length of this dress. I'll go ahead and connect all of the lines, just straighten the lines. I'm labeling that waistline. And I'm also going to rule across this other line, this other point that I've made, and I'm going to label hip. I'm also going to come down by my bust point measurement, which is 11 inches, and I'm going to rule a line across as well, and I'm labeling bust line. There's no need marking any measurement on the bust line because whatever you have on the chest line will also go to the bust line. On the waistline, you're going to take your waist measurement divided by 4, add 1 inch for ease and another for allowance. Ideally, on the waistline, you're supposed to add an extra 2 inches instead of 1 because this is supposed to have a belt and it is supposed to be loose. But the owner of this dress is a little bit on the big side and she didn't want that. So I just added 1 extra inch for ease. So if you want that loose fit, add an extra 1 inch. On the hip line, also take the hip measurement divided by 4 and add your extra 2 inch, one for ease and another for allowance. Whatever you have on the waistline, add an extra 2 to 3 inches or 1.5 just to give it that little A-shape effect. So depending on how much fabric you have, you can decide to add as much as 3 inches. But for this tutorial, I think I used 2 inches. Now connect all the points from your chest line to your waistline and then to your hip line. And then you're just going to extend in a straight line to the bottom. That's all for the drafting. You're going to go ahead and cut this out using the back neckline first. After getting this and cutting it out, this is exactly what I'm going to be placing on my actual fabric, and I'm going to pin it down and then I'm going to cut it out. After doing that, this is what I have. The only difference between this and the pattern paper is that it is at least 5 inches longer than the pattern paper. So this is what the full length of this style looks like. I think I used about 38 inches. So you can go ahead and use your preferred length. I'll go ahead and separate the front from the back because I'm going to be working on the front piece. Now remember that this has a placket in front, so I'm going to measure how deep I want my V neckline to be, and it's actually 9 inches. I'm going to go ahead and take away 1.5 inches on this point. Just see what I'm doing. Mark 1.5 inches away and then connect from that 9 inches down into the neckline. After doing that, you're just going to try and make sure you have a straight line because you don't want the lines to be ragged. And then you're going to go ahead and cut out on the lines, making you to have 2 pieces of this front neckline. So you're going to separate it into 2 because you have gone ahead to cut out 1.5 inches from the middle. So this is exactly what it is going to be looking like. Now the next thing to do is to place the front part and the back part right side facing each other, just like I'm doing. Place them right side facing each other. Make sure that they are aligned properly. Then you're going to go to your machine and then you're going to stitch using 1/2 inch on the shoulder area. After stitching and joining, this is exactly what it is going to be looking like. The next step is to take your measuring tape and you're going to measure from the center back down until you get to the end of this front piece, and I have 44 inches. Now you're going to get 2 fabric. Make sure that they are at least 6 inches wide and then they are longer than the 44 inches, so you can make it 50. You can just make it slightly longer. This is actually quite long. I ended up trimming it, so you need 2 pieces of this fabric. Now I'm going to align the 2 pieces of fabric. Just make sure they're properly aligned and then you're going to go and stitch by 1/2 inch. After stitching, you're also going to align and fold it like this and give it a good press just to get like a ghetto line, which is going to serve as the center of this part. It makes it a lot easier for you. Now you're just going to align your fabric. I'm going to go ahead and pin this down a little bit so that because it's actually a shimmery fabric to make it easy to work with. As you can see, I've already ironed this and you can see clearly the crease line in the middle. I'll just go ahead and measure again to be sure that I want my neck depth to be 14 inches, just to see where 14 inches is, and I think that's okay for me. So on this part I've already stitched, I'm going to come down by 14 inches and then I'm going to mark a point there. Just mark a point at 14 inches or however deep you want yours to be. So this point that is left, you're not going to be stitching there. There will be no stitch on that area. What I'm actually trying to do is to get how wide I want this to be. Remember, we took out 1.5 inches, so we're going to be using 2.5 inches for this. So this is my crease line, and on both sides of my crease line I have 2.5 inches. I'm going to go ahead and stitch on my crease line from the 14 inches that I want my neck depth to start from. I'll do a back stitch there and then I stitch to the end. This is what the stitch looks like. I don't know if you can see it properly, but I've gone ahead to stitch it down to the middle and I've made sure that my fabric is 2.5 on both sides. Now, please watch careful. What you're going to do, you're going to take one part, you're just going to turn the fabric, just watch what I'm doing, and then you're going to close it up like this, and you're going to get 2 sides. So remember, there's a stitch in the middle, so you're going to open one up to the other side and open the other one to the other side, and this is what you are going to have by the time you are done. Go ahead and give it a good press. As you can see, there's an opening which is 14 inches because you did not stitch it there. This is exactly how you create your placket. The next step is to go ahead and join it on your fabric. Join it on the wrong side of your fabric. The part of this placket that is open is actually the part that you're going to be stitching on. I'm just pinning this center to center, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down using 1/2 inch. So you're just going to make sure you're aligning it properly. Right side, the fabric facing the right side of the dress, because this fabric doesn't actually have a right or wrong side. That's for the black crepe. So you're just going to align it to the right side of your dress, and then you're going to stitch on both sides. I'll do that and I'll show you what it looks like. After stitching the black placket to my dress, this is exactly what it looks like. I've gone ahead to give it a good press. As you can see, it is looking very nice. I also went ahead to serge the back of this, so I just weaved the area to give it a neater finish. This is exactly what it is looking like. The next thing to do is to go ahead and measure the armhole. So I'm just measuring everything so that I'll cut the armhole easily. What I have is 25 inches. So for the sleeve, I've gone ahead to cut out a fabric that is 14 inches wide on fold and about 26 inches long. The next thing to do is to rule a line which is going to serve as my starting line. I'll come down by 5 inches, which is like my sleeve cap line. And then I'll also extend the line. Now I'm going to connect a slant line from one point to another. Please just watch what I'm doing. Just get a slant line like so. The next thing to do is to measure on the cap line. Just measure the wideness of your sleeve. And mine is actually 12.5, sorry. After that, I'm going to be getting the center point of this slant line that I have made. So just get the midpoint. After getting the midpoint, to the part facing me, you're going to go up by half of an inch, and the other side you're going to go down by half of an inch. So just go up on one side by half of an inch. The side that is not open, go up, and the side that is open towards the side of the sleeve, come down by half of an inch. I went ahead to measure and I discovered that it was a little longer. So this is just me trying to adjust the size to make sure it is going to match the armhole area. The next thing to do is to get the full length of this sleeve, and I actually want this sleeve to be 27 inches, but remember I'm going to be adding 2 inches at the bottom, so I made this 25.5 inches. I came down by 11 inches, which is actually my elbow line. Now, because this is actually a bell sleeve, the bottom part is supposed to be very wide, and mine is 14 inches. So I connected this through the elbow line to where my sleeve is supposed to be. On the elbow line, I came down by 1 inch, but I came in by 1 inch. This is actually optional. I just wanted it to have like a little curve in that area, make it a little bit slimmer. So after cutting this out, this is exactly what the sleeve is looking like. So remember, I actually cut out 2 pieces of this, so your fabric should be folded in 4. Now remember that I said I was going to add a black fabric, that's my black crepe fabric, at the bottom of this sleeve. So I've gone ahead to cut out a piece of fabric on fold that is 2.25 inches on fold. So you're actually going to be placing this at the edge, the part that is open. You know, when a fabric is on fold, just only one side is open. You're going to place it at the tip of your sleeve and you're going to stitch it. But before then, you're going to attach your sleeve to the armhole of this dress. You're going to take your sleeve and you're going to place this right side facing the fabric. You're going to pin the center piece down and you're going to go ahead and stitch. Just arrange your fabric and stitch until you get to one end of the sleeve, and then you're going to do the exact same thing on the other end of the sleeve. Now, after attaching the sleeve to the dress, you're now going to get the black crepe fabric and you're also going to attach it, the part that is open. Remember, when a fabric is on fold, one side is open. The part that is open, you're going to attach on the sleeve using 0.25 inches. You're going to repeat this process for both sleeves and you have your complete sleeve attached to your dress. So this is exactly what it is looking like. Now, the last thing to do is actually attach a belt to this, and to do that, you're going to get your waistline. For this dress, it is 16.5 inches. So you can see me marking 16.5 inches, and I'm just going to mark a point on both sides of the front piece of this dress. Now you're going to get a belt. My belt is 45 inches long and it is actually 2 inches wide. So just cut out a piece of fabric that is 2.5 inches and then use 0.5 inches to fold it inside. Give it a good press and you have your belt. The next thing I'm going to do is to get the midpoint of the belt, and you're also going to place it at the midpoint of your waistline. So just make sure that 1 inch of the belt goes up and the other 1 inch comes down. You're going to pin it down on one side and you're going to repeat the exact same thing. Get the midpoint of the belt and then make sure that you are placing it exactly on the 16.5 inches line that you have already made. So pin this down, or you can go ahead to stitch it, but I'm just going to pin it down. After doing that, now you're going to go ahead and place this fabric right side facing each other. So just make sure the back and the front piece are exactly aligned and they are facing each other. So this is actually going to take a bit of a time. So you can use your pin to pin it down and align it properly. So you can see me trying to align, and then I'm going to be using my pins to pin all the key areas, the waistline, the armhole, the bottom. Just make sure it is properly aligned. After aligning this properly, you're going to go to your machine and you're going to use 0.75 and you're going to run it straight from the sleeve down to the bottom of this dress. You're going to repeat the exact same thing for the other side of this dress. And after doing that, the next thing you are going to do is to go ahead and hem the bottom, or you can serge it and hem it or use your hemming gum. And that's all for this dress. After I was done, I gave it a good press and this is the result. As you can see, it came out really nicely. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, comment, like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified whenever I make a new video. Thank you very much and see you in my next video. Bye.